What's the background of the Breast Cancer Startup Challenge?
So the Center for Advancing Innovation has partnered with the National Cancer Institute through a partnership intermediary agreement to evaluate 4,000 of their inventions. So we went through a very rigorous process to evaluate their inventions to identify those that had the highest near-term commercial viability. So we had about 130 variables that we looked at. Are they operationally feasible? Is there strong medical and scientific attractiveness? Is there a market that's going to be viable? Can they attract funding in that particular area? So we came out of that analysis and we had 50 really strong inventions. Now, simultaneously with that engagement, we also interviewed more than 300 organizations to find out, what do you want to put in your R&D portfolio? So these are potential organizations like large pharma that could potentially in-license these inventions. So we got to the end, and the whole idea was we're going to take these 50 inventions that we have, and we're going to match them with industry players. So, great, able to quickly commercialize these inventions, if you will. We found, however, in the breast cancer area, the inventions like early stage diagnostics and vaccines were not areas that large pharma, venture capitalists, private equity wanted to invest in, and for a various number of reasons. Well, simultaneously, we've been working with the Avon Foundation to evaluate 10 years of their grants. And we were actually performing the same analysis, but it was specifically focused on breast cancer. So we got to the end and we found 10 gems. So now we have 60 great inventions. So what we did was we were like, the best way to commercialize these inventions, the only vehicle really, is a startup. The NIH can't create startups. They're not equipped to create startups. The inventors actually have to leave NIH to create a startup. So it's not a good situation for them. And the Avon Foundation, it's not in their mission to create startups. So what I did was come up with this idea to have a business plan and a startup challenge. So at the end of this challenge, we will actually have 30 startups from 10 inventions. So that's kind of the background.
And who are the teams involved?
So the team structures require a medical and scientific person, a legal person, someone with a legal background, someone with a strong business background who has actually operated a company, as well as a seasoned entrepreneur. So the seasoned entrepreneur must have raised dilutive and non-dilutive capital, so like SBIR grants, but also have raised money from private equity or venture capital. And they should have at least run their company for 3 years. It's a big plus if they've also in-licensed inventions from academic organization or a federal lab. So that's the mandatory structure of the team. We have 2 inventions in the challenge. One's a health IT invention and one's actually a device. Those require additional disciplines, the health IT, computer science, and the device engineering. So the team structures are pretty robust. Right now, we have 36 teams that are very strong. 13 have already made it into the challenge. So we have 5 teams from Wake Forest. We're really thrilled to see the teams in the challenge. We have some great Johns Hopkins teams that are forming. We're very excited because we had an opportunity to present to them this evening, and we see some great students that are coming forth with teams.
What does the overall process entail?
So there are 3 phases to the challenge. The first phase is the letter of intent, which is what we are in right now. In this phase, the teams are just going to come forth with, who is on their core team, who are their mentors, and who are their advisors. So the difference between a mentor and an advisor is the mentors will actually have every week we'll probably be working with the teams on their deliverables, and the advisors will be there for Q&A sessions. So we're recommending also, just going back to the teams, a lot of the advisors are key opinion leaders, they're payers, they're venture capitalists. So these are people who the team can surround themselves with from multiple disciplines that will actually help them be successful. The teams, all they're doing in the letter of intent phase is putting forth their multidisciplinary team and explaining how they're going to be successful in a startup. So as soon as the teams come in with a strong letter of intent, they will be immediately put into the next phase of the challenge. So it's a rolling start. So I mentioned that we have 10 inventions. Our goal is to have 10 teams per invention in the letter of intent phase. So when an invention has 10 teams, we're going to stop at 10 teams for that invention. So the next phase, the business plan phase, as I mentioned, they're going to roll in, and actually as of November 29th, that's the end date for the letter of intent phase. So we're going to stop accepting teams at that point. Business plan phase requires 3 deliverables. There's a business plan, or the teams may choose also to create a business model canvas. Also a pitch, a 5-minute pitch. It'll be live with the judges, and then also a 1-minute elevator speech which will be uploaded on YouTube. And so at the end of this phase, the business plan phase of the challenge, there'll be 1 winner per invention. So it's 10 winners. It's pretty good for people who are entering because they have a 10% chance of winning right away, which is not the same as other contests. So, but we're also allowing for 3 teams per invention to move on to the startup phase. So they actually, at the end of the day, have a 30% chance of having a startup. We want to see 30 startups at the end. And you're probably wondering, well, how would we get 30 startups if there are 3 teams per invention? These inventions that we have in the challenge are really strong. We have some awesome platforms. Many of the inventions have, not only can they be used for a therapeutic, they can be used for diagnostic or prognostics. They have multiple different applications. Some of them are patented on an international basis, so you could carve out a field of use. We'd love to see 30 startups. So that's our goal at the end of this challenge. And a couple of things that are, I think, particularly exciting about this challenge is this is the first time ever that there's ever been a business plan and startup challenge, university-based, internationally, that has actually had NCI or NIH inventions as the core heart of the challenge. So 9 of the inventions came from the NIH. 1 invention came from one of the Avon Foundation grantees from Clemson. It's an awesome invention. Awesome inventions from the NCI. So we're changing the paradigm potentially of being able to create startups out of NIH and federally funded technology that's intramural. Another key differentiator about this challenge is that, most of the therapeutically focused foundations, they give it a grant, $100,000, $150,000. They give that grant for a few years. No therapeutically focused foundation has ever invested in a startup challenge. So if you can think about the dynamics that change there, it's going to change the entire landscape of venture philanthropy. So with the same amount that they could put in, a foundation, a therapeutically focused foundation could put in for one grant, they can actually now result in potentially 30 startups. So it's an amazing paradigm shift, both from how to commercialize federally funded technology, but also for foundations and how foundations can truly make an impact and push forward. So I really commend, Mark Hurlbert of the Avon Foundation, who's very forward-thinking, and also Tom Stackhouse of the NCI, who's extremely progressive. Without partnering with them to make this a reality, it would have never happened. So I'm very excited for this challenge. I'm thrilled about the teams that have entered and that are going to be entering.